You are a unique individual with the power to change lives just by being who you are, sharing your wisdom, and telling your story. Welcome, everybody, to Jen's Pen Live, where we find interesting people who make the world a better place and ask them to share their story. As you can see, or you may be able to see, we've got a little bit of technical difficulty here, so I hope you can bear with us. Anyway, I just wanted to welcome Jason Centeno to the show. Jason, sorry, things are going crazy over my computer. Jason is, sorry, I got a little distracted there.
They don't know. They don't know the background. We've been sitting here trying to make technology work for a little bit, so they should be happy that they can even see us right now.
They can even see us. They should feel blessed. Jason, why don't you introduce yourself before, because I'm getting flustered.
All right, so I guess I got to take this show over. That's okay.
Just for now.
My name is Jason Centeno. Who am I? I'm a retired firefighter, adoption advocate, and I'm an owner of a tech company, a startup called Trashmitter, which is trash technology. Never thought I would be in that business in my life, but yeah, that's what happened. So that's where I'm at right now. Retired firefighter making trash robots.
Trash robots, that's cool. We're gonna definitely have to hear more about that. But you're also you've got like dad entrepreneurial a dad entrepreneurial group, right?
Yeah, that dadpreneurs. That's kind of like
Dadpreneurs.
I'm a lot of things, as maybe you'll find out eventually. But dadpreneurs, something, you might have heard of mompreneurs or just entrepreneurs, but it was kind of like the whole entrepreneurs kind of like that. Hey, I'm a single guy, I'm running around, or a single girl, I'm running around on yachts and I'm pushing Lambos,
Yes.
and I'm an influencer. And like then there's the moms and dads who are like, no, these are my kids, and I'm all about family life, and I'm trying to juggle all these things, and they're obviously different flavors. So we thought it'd be more respectful to give it the mompreneur, dadpreneur sort of thing, because they are different, except with the same sort of goals, which is build a business and build family and life freedom. So yeah, that's my jam. Those are who I love, because as I was a firefighter, I was being an entrepreneur at the same time. So I was an employee and an employer at the same time. And people was like, "How do you do it? You got 6 kids, and you're working full time, and you're doing this and you're doing it." It's like the whole idea of being able to like leverage technology and 4-hour work week sort of principles. Even though by now people know that doesn't really pan out like that
Right.
exactly, but it's good to start. So the whole dadpreneur thing came from just talking to other dads and saying, yeah, this is how we balance family and life. And the reality is there is no balance. There's just a whole bunch of plates spinning, and sometimes some of them have to fall. And they
Right.
break. And so what? And you just got to live your life. But balance implies that there is a shortage of something somewhere. And if you're trying to live an abundant life, then you can have it all. You just have to accept the fact that, you know, all doesn't look perfect. All just is all, right? Like you're able to do everything.
Right.
How well you do each one at a specific time really doesn't matter. It's more as it's like, okay, hey, how am I doing? And living a life with family and business and spirituality and all the other things you find important in your life can be done. And there's really not a balance. There's like you're just going to have that then at that time, and you're going to have all of it right then. So I don't know if that made sense, but yeah, that's
No,
kind
it
of.
totally does. It's like intentional imbalance, you know?
Yeah,
You
well,
choose what you focus on.
we live in a world where everybody's trying to like multitask, and everybody's, oh, I can well, do you really
Multitask.
multitask? Do you really, like, do
Mm-mm.
you actually stop something to start something else? So literally that's just the same version of it, is like you really don't in truth multitask anything. You stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. So taking that a step further, really, that's the whole thing about life balance. You really stop, start, stop, start. It's just how well you do it, how well you float around, how well you maximize your time. That's
Right.
that's the art behind all that.
Yeah, finding a way to do it efficiently and productively. So let's get to this trash robot thing. What is that
So,
all about?
all right. So the trash robot part is a ways out, but the business itself is we're starting with, because anytime you start something, you got to figure out cash flow, right? I mean, I think we met through Alchemist, right? So
Yes.
everything's about cash flow. If you want to buy real estate, you know, if you're smart, you want cash flow. You don't want to buy something that's just going to appreciate, but then you have no benefits from it. Um, Especially if you're trying to live, you know, a certain lifestyle. Like how long can you live with no return? So, like a business, like a child, like, you know, there's a long time before you can see something that comes back. Well, if you can, you want to start something where there's cash flow coming in. So we're starting out as an on-demand trash removal service. Think Uber for trash, where people, you know, our primary market in the beginning is short-term rental hosts, Airbnb hosts. That's kind of the world I came from. That's where the problem began to manifest and show me its, you know, rear its ugly head and say, hey, you know, this is, I know you don't think about this too much, but like if you don't attend to this the right way, it can certainly affect your money, and people will want, you know, refunds, and then you end up with like pest problems and
Mm.
collateral, you know, fines from people and neighbors complaining, and there's just this problem that kind of is almost invisible. You know, you see it walking down the street, litter, trash, the wind takes it, you know, cats rip it up, whatever. It causes this problem that we don't really think we can address. Well, turns out we can, and I kind of figured out some ways to do that. But it starts with this, you know, on-demand trash service for small amounts of trash, where, you know, if you would call someone out like a 1-800 junk guy or somebody else, they don't normally come out with for less than like $100, right? They two
Right.
guys come out, they have a truck, they have gas to pay for. They're like, well, look, a quarter of a truck or an eighth of a truck costs you $125. Could be 2 bags of trash, but that's what they're going to charge you. So what it is we've created a 2 to 8 bag sort of like on demand, press a button, easy button, you know, it's already flat fee per bag. When when you need to get rid of something quick, whether it's like from your short-term rental, when you have a turnover and you got to get rid of the bags quickly, you have a party over the weekend, and like, you know, for example, Thanksgiving, you're gonna have a bunch of trash and food trash, so you might want to get rid of that quicker, so you don't have like the animals coming in to mess with your trash,
Yeah.
bears, depending on what you were, like raccoons. um or just the smell, right? Like you, like if you fried fish, you don't want that trash in your house too long, or in your garage, stinking up your garage. So there's that application. There's, you know, older people that might need to get their trash carried to the curb. There's all these sort of use cases there where someone might need that weekend project, or you just don't like have, or you know, trying to declutter and you don't want it sitting around. Holidays happen where they don't pick up, or in a city like Philadelphia where we're starting, they might skip you completely, because that's been happening. So there's, you know, that's where it starts, but we're looking to make a litter free United States anyway, by 2026, by by marrying crypto to trash, turning literally trash into treasure, where somebody would be, there's a piece of crypto assigned to each piece of trash that you would pick up through our system, and that would accumulate this little bit of crypto so, you know, in the future, some kid walking around his neighborhood could pick up all these masks that are blowing around, or these bottles or whatever, fill up a bag, you know, one of our proprietary bags that you can track, and, you know, at the end of the day, maybe make $3 or $4 just cleaning up his little neighborhood, or, and that could be anybody. So that's the way we're headed now. Trash robots is think Roomba. Right now, this is not my invention. This is something that we're kind of collaborating with some. It already exists, but think of Roomba, where, you know, you're on vacation, okay, and you have trash, but you don't have anybody to take it out. You don't really want to ask the neighbors. This thing would open up your garage door for you, put your trash out to the curb. People would pick it up, us, because it would be hooked into our system, and then return itself back to the garage, close the garage door. That kind of technology. So you got a broken leg, it's raining outside, you're on vacation, a million different reasons why you might want this thing. Otherwise, other than it's, you know, it's actually pretty cool. That we're working on licensing and partnership with somebody on that right now, and a couple other trash robot kind of things, but like that's where we're headed. So that, sorry to go too far on a tangent, but that's what we're creating right now. We'll be launching probably in January, and looking to change the world in 5 to 6 years. So
That's incredible. I had no idea you were so close to the launch. That's wonderful. And the idea of a trash free, like a litter free, that's phenomenal. I mean, we're much better than other countries, but there's so much just blowing around the cities, especially. So I'm glad that you've taken on that problem. And this came out of the original concept came out of the fact that you own bed Airbnbs and short-term rentals.
Yeah, most of the times there's a solution, but when you live in urban areas, like there isn't, there's, space is at a premium. I'll give you an example. I have 5 units, two next to each other. One, there was no yard. There was just an alleyway that was locked up. And then there was another one with a yard, but you couldn't really get to the trash because you'd have to actually go through a unit to get it. So it
Oh,
just became this big monstrous headache where I started paying a neighbor and I set trash cans somewhere else. And I had, I had this system and, everybody has a system. So you'll do whatever's easiest, right? But at some point, what ends up happening is one piece of that complicated chain that you create will mess up. Somebody will get mad about there's too much trash somewhere, and you can't control that. Then um, it'll fall, or some pests will get into it. So you have to have someone clean that up because that's your responsibility. So just this uh, what's the word? Just something that started to spiral in a small, annoying, like an unraveling of a thread that just kept becoming a problem and become until it just broke apart completely. Meaning that the person who I was depending on it for stopped taking, stop keeping track of the way the money was handled. Like, I was paying him, but he would, he'd ask for an advance, then he would forget about the advance, and he would say, "I'm trying to cheat him," and then he would go, it just became a big thing. And then
yeah,
I'd hire somebody else. And then it was like, well, now you got to go find somebody else who lives far away whenever they get to it. And I know we could solve this with technology. Like, if you can do this, if a person, so ideally crowds, what do you call it? Crowdsourcing platform, the gig economy, where you could just simply have an app where even if you didn't have a car, if someone they needed their trash to go out, even as simply as just taking it from their yard or somewhere from the front to the back to the front at a certain time of the night, you could simply be that person, go and make a couple dollars from just moving it to where it has to go at the right time. So that's called like trash valet. It actually exists, but mostly in larger apartment buildings, not so much for single families because things are so spread out. So how we solve that is through the crowdsourcing. Like, hey, you turn on your app, you're available. You only want to work, you got a couple of hours to work, or you just want to get some exercise. You could go pick up some trash to put in the right place, or you could simply go put it out for someone, whatever works for your schedule. Because the idea that, like, to me, Lyft and Uber drivers and those guys, they like that surge pricing. They try to go after, like, how can I make the most money? It could be 4 o'clock in the morning they're waking up, or they're late at night, or it's taking them away from their families. Most of the stuff we're dealing with would be regular hours, like during daylight hours mostly. And then Sundays is probably a day where a lot of people will work, but most of the time it's like it's a way better schedule for someone with a family. And because I have a family, like for me, I think that's important.
yeah, you're
um,
sensitive to that.
yeah, I'm trying to make an alternative where you're going to make a similar income for something, help clean up the world, earn some crypto, some other things, some other fun things we're going to put in there. And like I said, we'll gamify and monetize litter collection to the point where someday people might be fighting over a piece of trash on the ground because it's worth, they want to get the points, right? Like they're like, I
Right.
need that, right? So if we could create a world where people are actually fighting over picking up trash, like that's a good problem to have, I think. So that's what I'm shooting for.
Definitely.
I don't know if it's going to be that desperate, but I make a joke. It's like, imagine if you got paid in Doge coins to pick up dog crap. like that
You
would
do
just be
it.
funny. Yeah. Yeah. So that, I don't know if that's where we're going, but that would be pretty funny. I think I can make that work. So yeah.
Definitely. That's so funny. What was I gonna say? Oh, that I mean that's right. Like, oh, I just got distracted by the Dogecoin dog do thing. um, that's really cool. So making America cleaner and greener. It's like Pokemon Go. Remember when that was really, really popular?
There is actually a game, we call it Sweepy actually, which is kind of like a combination Pokemon Go, Pac-Man kind of thing, which that's the part I want to get kids into. So there is a story and a whole character thing behind this for when this part gets done, because really the tracking is going to be the hardest part, because we're right now we're trying to fight illegal dumping to begin with. Like that's the bigger problem. Like, hey,
Yeah.
this trash goes from here to here, but in between it might get thrown somewhere. So that's going to be the most value to like the cities. Like, hey, like here we're showing this pattern of how things work so that we can make everything better. So once you get that done, then it's like, okay, now how do we separate the recycles from the regular trash? Well, I don't know if you know this, but most times recycling just goes to the same place for all the work you do, right?
Hmm.
So it's like, why do you do all that work? Why do you get a blue? Why do you have a blue can to begin with if they're just going to take it to the same place? People don't know that recycling kind of has died out because China doesn't take it anymore. It's not worth it to them anymore. So
Yeah.
part of the reason for that is people just like, they're not emptying out their stuff. They're not doing things the right way. So we have to figure out a way to incentivize them to do that. And then there does exist technology to turn plastic into fuel. So we might have to take that back excuse me, as a way of mining for our own fuel and taking that back, and that might be part of this too. There's so many verticals in this, but at the end of the day, the end result is, we want to be Father God's answer to Mother Nature's cries for help. So this is my way of doing that. We're not trash guys, we're eco medics. We do rapid response because we're responding to a trash emergency, but during that we're trying to change hearts and minds to think about this differently, not with one of these like, oh, you should do this. No, with like, hey, we're gonna have fun with this. You're gonna look at this completely differently, and at the end of the day, if we can change that, that heart in the person to like look at this like, oh, there's so many benefits to doing this, not, oh, you should do this because your kids are going to suffer. Like nobody's attached to that. Like, don't get me wrong, it's true, but nobody likes to be nagged and
Oh
shamed
yeah.
and any of this other stuff. So let's turn it around. Let's change the game. Let's make it fun. Let's make it goofy. Let's like a game out of it, and more people will. I feel like they would engage and embrace that first before Greta Thunberg show up or whatever, just nagging and crying about stuff that I don't even believe in. So yeah.
Well, I think everybody would agree, no matter what your affiliation, that picking up trash and litter removal and making the country and the planet healthier and greener is the way to go.
That's what I'm up to.
So I wanted to. I know we've kind of gone past the half an hour that we kind of allotted, but if you wouldn't mind, could you tell us a little bit about your adoption mission?
Yep. So people, whenever you do anything, right? People are like, well, why do you do something, right? Like, why are you creating this technology? Why do you want to invest in real estate? And the typical answer is usually for I want to provide for my family. Everybody wants to do that, though. There's nothing big or world changing about that. So for me, the adoption thing came by, it wasn't our intention. We started out with wanting to adopt just two children. Well, really one, but we had a boy. We couldn't do anymore. We were doing not good, and I come from a big family. My wife comes from a pretty good sized family, and we wanted to do more. So the journey became, we want to fill our house, and then during a part of that journey, it became apparent to me, and and I'll say it right now because God basically told me in church one day that I wasn't done. So we had adopted two, and then we thought we were done, and I was starting to push back and not accept anymore because I thought we were done.
Hmm.
Meaning, like, hey, we have the three that we want, and now we're good. We don't want to go buying a new house or a bigger car and everything that comes with getting more children. But I was, like I said, I got a tap on the shoulder from God, like I like to say, and that He needed more from me, and I was intended to do more. So from that, we ended up adopting five, and that's where we stopped personally for now. But what came from that was I started to help other dad entrepreneurs and people that were in my circle of influence and say, hey, this is what we went through. Here's how you can manage it. And from that, I was able to help two friends. They adopted three more, and I got this thing in my head that I wanted to see 100 kids adopted through my influence before I died. something I saw in a Facebook video, and it kind of inspired me. And I was like, 100. And my last name means 100 in some languages. So I was like, all right, I got to do 100. The Grant Cardone was 10x, I'm 100x, right? So I didn't know how I was going to do that from my position, but I didn't know that I couldn't just stay quiet. I had to get a place of influence. I had to do something to get myself somewhere where people were going to listen to me and my message. So, as an entrepreneur, I was like, okay, well, what way can I spread this message bigger and better? So I started doing the dad next door show, which was like I was interviewing other dads and like business and family, and then the guy I ended up meeting to co-found Trashmitter with. That's the name of the company, by the way, Trashmitter. Um, Started out like I was going to help him find more people to create tech companies, but then I had this idea, and he told me to go through the process and develop it a little bit to see what you got. That became I did that, and he was like, you got something here. Let's develop this. Let's turn this into a business. And now, between him and now Grant Cardone's actually a part owner of the company. That's moving the way it's moving. But that will give me the platform to become what I've learned over time to get I condensed into this. I'm meant to be a father to the fatherless. So to that end, proceeds from the company are going to go towards that. I just recently got certified to become a guardian ad litem, which is like a guardian for children in the foster system. So that's another way to spread my message, get my hands dirty, to maybe not personally adopt, but to be able to help kids that are in the system to either be adopted, or when they age out, have opportunities in the tech industry. So we're starting something with that called T-Next Incubator. And yeah, there's a lot of things going on, but the point I'm trying to make after all that is, once you determine your why, and to determine my why was I want to, I'm meant to be a father to the fatherless, and a goal, which is I want to see 100 kids adopted through my influence in my lifetime. That's a number. So you have the purpose and the why, and then a number to associate with it. All this other stuff it all goes towards that end. And no matter what I do, if I keep working towards that end, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get there, but all the collateral good that happens along the way is just kind of like the icing on the cake, or the whipped cream, or whatever, the cherry on top. So yeah, so that's why everything's so big, because even if I don't get all the way there, all this that's happening along the way will get me to that, that number that I'm looking for. So yeah, that's it.
Right. That's amazing. Oh, I love that. As I've told you, I myself am adopted, so that's really close to my heart. The idea of being a father to the fatherless is a really beautiful, beautiful thing. So I thank you for doing that work. That's amazing. Um, so Jason, before we wrap up, who are you looking to help, and how can they get in touch with you?
Um, it's a good question. I guess the most value I can be to others is like other fathers that are kind of like trying to set themselves up and figuring out their self and what they're going to do. Because as a father, when I was faced with more children, that idea, I'm nodding my head, and my wife loves the idea, but in my head I'm calculating like, what's that going to cost? Well, what do I got to do now? I got to work overtime, or I got to come up with something. So if I can help those guys sort, through coaching, business, just conversation of how like to get to the point where they feel financially stable, that they can make that a choice, like not a scary choice now. Now it's like hey, I wanted to do that, but I didn't know how, and now I know I can. So let's talk. That's really how someone helps me, is like by reaching out to me and saying, hey, I've always considered that, but there's some things I got to sort out. You know, can you advise me on this? That all day I'll do that. I'll figure out how to move my time around for that. And then what was the second question? As far as what was it? What you can do for me?
How can they get in touch with you?
Okay, so the Trashmitter site is up. It's kind of just like a hey, it's be notified. So if you went to, and think the word transmitter, but Trashmitter, because basically your trash is actually calling you to come get it. That's kind of where that came from. Trashmitter.com, you could kind of sign up on that as a kind of to, just to kind of get on a notification list. And then there's if you wanted to just email me, you could just email Jason can fix anything at Gmail. That'll come to me. That's one of my emails. Um, I don't know that I can fix anything, but I try. So that's the email. Jason can fix anything at Gmail. I can tell you, I can send you information about like how to keep up with the journey of Trashmitter and the Teenx incubator and anything else along those lines. Just ask and there's a bunch of links I can shoot you to and say, okay, look, here's a Facebook group you can follow. Here's this link. Here's the stuff for the young entrepreneur movements and helping teens. And it keeps growing. So every week is a new kind of opportunity that's gone from a seed into like an actual plant. And I would say probably by January, a lot more of this stuff will be really organized. But right now, it's like a bunch of like pieces that are just moving towards each other right now, and it's a
Yeah,
bunch of so, yeah.
it's
Hope
coming together.
if anything at Gmail, get to me, and then we can go from there.
Awesome. And we'll put all the links in the description of the video so people can feel free to go up, see your email, see the websites, and see all the resources you have for them. Thank you so much for joining us, Jason. This has been a real pleasure. I love hearing about everything that you're doing. And yeah, thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you. I don't get to talk to adults that much, so I needed. I'm
With
surrounded
that
by.
many children,
There's six
I
of them,
believe
but
you.
they're all well. Most of them are 17, 17, 11, 9, 8, 6, 4 right now. So yeah.
So they're all still there in the house.
One's trying to break in the door right now. I don't know if you can hear it, but like I have the door shut.
That sounds like fun. Well, then I will let you go and go take care of your 6 children. Enjoy it. Thank you so much for talking with me for the past, however long it's been now, like 30, 40 minutes. And thanks for your patience with the technical difficulties.
My pleasure, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Take care. Everybody out there, everybody has a story to tell. So what's yours?